welcome to another episode on DNA Hardwired, common sense turned upside down. My name is Pop, and with me is my co-host, Jackie. The last few weeks, we've been covering politics and current events. On this week's episode, we're going to switch up a little and talk a little bit about parenting. That seems to be a subject that we need to talk about. If we have a little time left over, we'll probably cover maybe a little bit on current events. Due to the nature of this particular episode, I just want to remind folks and make it perfectly clear at this time that this is not a therapeutic podcast in the typical sense of medical or mental therapy. My co-host Jack and I mean, even though we may have received varying degrees of training in different areas of counseling, we are definitely not PhDs or MDs or any other kind of Ds. All right. We do have a lot of knowledge on different subjects, but I just want to make sure that we're not claiming to be any type of therapist in that sense. The information is going to be therapeutic in nature, but it's basically just for situational and problem-solving situations. And we do encourage you, if you believe your situation or problem is serious enough, we strongly encourage and recommend you seek professional, medical or psychological help, whatever the case might be. Would you like to add anything, Brother Jackie?
Yes, we're not doctors, we're not attorneys, none of that. This is strictly having a conversation about things that we see in life, and it is for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
Seriously, if you have issues, financial, medical, go seek the professionals. That is not us.
There you go. I appreciate that, brother. Okay, then let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and get started on this episode on parenting. By definition, parenting is pretty simple. It's just the process of raising a child. Question for you, Brother Jackie. Do you think you can parent a child without being their biological parent?
I've done it, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've done it, yes.
Yes. I mean, there are cases where folks are step parents or grandparents or family members or some other legally recognized relationship with the child. We've had siblings parenting kids. So I agree. You don't have to be a biological parent in order to parent a child. Matter of fact, and we'll get into this.
I've done that second one too.
Yeah.
I've done the same. I've done the same one. I've done both.
Yeah, there you go. As a matter of fact, many times the person that's non-biological are better at parenting than the biological parents. So, and that's why a lot of times, kids end up in the hands of some of these other folks other than biological parents, because biological parents shouldn't be parenting.
I don't need a license to be a parent. That's crazy.
That's crazy. You're right. A question for you, Brother Jackie. Where do you think most of us learn our parenting styles from?
We learn it from who. I can't say who parented us, but who was closer to line with us. That may be your parent, but a lot of times in my generation, I believe, and I think my generation prior, it came from grandparents.
Yeah.
A lot of your grandparents had a big influence, and I think I said on the last podcast. I've heard it before, but this is my personal story. To this day, I do not call my mom. I call her mother. My grandmama was mama.
Mm-hmm.
So, them early years when my mom was trying to figure it out, and my parents both, they was together, trying to figure out. I was around my grandparents a lot, so that was part of the foundation. I'd say that was the centerpiece of the foundation of my early childhood.
Yeah, and I would agree.
So, but to answer your question, I know I went on a tangent. It's your parents, it's your grandparents. A lot of times it's some aunts, uncles. that you were closely aligned with. So all that it take a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
That I lived it.
Yeah. And I would agree. I think in most cases, we learn our parenting styles from whoever parented us. And that's either, like you said, it's either our parents, our grandparents, aunts, uncles, because I share a little bit of your experience. I was the first 5-6 years of my life, I had a great aunt who actually raised me. And then, 6, 7 on up until I left the house, then my mama took over, and she was the one who parented me. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and so that's where we learn most of our parenting skills from, is those people who parented us. And the thing about that, and I think we'll talk a little bit about it a little bit later, but the thing about it is that there are no perfect parents. There are no perfect parents. Some parents are better or worse than others. And hopefully what we will do is pick up the positive parenting styles from those people who parent us, and not pick up the negative ones. As a matter of fact, let's look at some of the primary parenting styles. There's mainly 4 of them that we're gonna look at. The first one that we'll look at is one called authoritative.
Yes.
And really, this style is characterized by high expectations and high warmth. Parents set clear rules, but also provide reasoning and involve children in the decision-making process. So that's the authoritative parenting style. High expectations, high warmth, but parents are clear about the rules, and communicate with the child, provide reasoning, and involve the children in the decision-making process. Any thoughts on that one, Brother Jackie?
Okay.
I
understand. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So there's another style that's it sounds a little bit like it, but it's the authoritarian type of parenting. Authoritarian. Now, this one has high demands and high control, but low warmth and responsiveness. Parents are strict. They expect obedience and provide little explanation for their rules. Authoritarian. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I've seen that one too.
That's the one that's the one my mama was. That's my mama in a nutshell, boy. I tell you, when I was growing up, she made some demands. She controlled everything. Truthfully, I didn't notice a whole lot of warmth and responsiveness, to tell you the truth. My mama was really strict, and she expected me to obey. And she didn't necessarily give me explanations for why I had to do what I had to do. So I grew up under that one.
The way we came up, parents didn't give explanations as to why, for the most part, as to why the rules were the rules. It was just, these are the rules. Your job is to follow.
There you go.
I grew up. I'm like you. I grew up in the authoritarian.
Yes.
I grew up in that space.
Right. Yeah. And I don't want to be a little stereotypical, but I think a lot of folks of our generation, especially from the black community, a lot of us grew up in that type of parenting, with that type of parenting style. Not saying white folk or other folk don't grow up with that, but boy, I tell you what,
I wasn't over there in that day.
Yeah. But we know what was happening on our side of the street.
Right.
Another parenting style is one called a permissive parent style.
Yes.
These are parents. These parents are warm, nurturing, but they have few expectations or rules. Right. And let me tell you. I got a personal story to tell you that just recently happened to me, and I'm making an assumption now. But I've got these neighbors, right? Well, I've got these neighbors. I live in a neighborhood where these people we live in houses. We don't live in apartments. Everybody got their own individual house, right? Decent neighborhood. And so this one of my neighbors across the street, husband and wife, they have 2 or 3 little boys. I know they got at least 2, and they look like their ages like 7 and 8, and then maybe one of them is like 10 or 11. All right, across the street. Seem like nice little kids. They wave, I wave, and everything. And then I got another neighbor that's to the left of me. And they're nice, another couple, got some nice little kids. Matter of fact, the one little boy, I think he's like 5 or 6. He loved to see me. Me and him, we buddies, right? And they got probably 4 or 5 kids, right? And one of their kids, there's a boy. He's probably 10 or 11 too. So this just happened last week. Me and my wife, we getting a new air conditioner put in because the one we've had it's been limping along, and we decided, look, we're not going to go, we're in Arizona. We can't be messing around our air conditioner. So we decided we're going to get it replaced, and we decided we'll wait until this time of the year where we don't need the air, really. It's done cooled off a little bit. So the tradesmen, they're there, the air conditioning guys, they're there, they're doing their thing. And so me and my wife is in the house. And so I had to park. We've got 3 cars, right? And so one of them, I was okay with that car being parked in the driveway, But my other 2 cars that we normally keep in the garage, because they're nicer cars, I end up parking them on the street. So one of my cars is my baby. It's my baby, right?
Is it the same one? Is it the same one you had before?
Yeah. That's my baby. And so I take care of my baby. So it's parked right in front of my house, right across the street from my neighbors, right? So I check on it every now and then. So I look out there, and the little boy across the street, the one that's about 10 or 11, him, and one of the little boys on my side neighbor, who's about 11 also, they are out there playing catch football. And I'm looking, I'm like, no, right? And guess what the parents are?
Out there looking at them?
Out there looking at them. They are out there looking at these 2 kids throwing this football. Now, for those of you that don't know what a football is shaped like, it's oblong. It's not a round thing. It's not flat. It's oblong. It's got 2 points on it. So when you throw that football, and if you don't catch it, if it hits, especially if it hits on one of those pointed ends, you have no idea what direction that thing gonna go, right? So, and these 2 parents, they're good parents. I guess they figure they good parents because they stand out there watching these kids throw that damn football by my car. So I go outside. I just look at them. They look at me. The one little boy, like I said, he's about 5 or 6. He loved me. I love him. We wave and holler at each other. But I get in my car. I got to move my car because I don't want to get into no stuff. If they hit my car, there gonna be some problems. So now this is Go ahead, brother.
Not to cut you off, Pop. But for the listening audience, if you knew what the car was, you'll understand why he moved it.
I had to move my baby. I had to move my baby. And so
Put it like this. For the listening audience, next step is a Lamborghini if you get the
Hey, you hear what I'm saying? And so now this is a prime example of what I would consider permissive parents. Now I could be wrong, but that would be my idea. They are allowing these kids to participate in that type of activity. They're smart enough. They're smart enough to know that the chances of those kids throwing that ball, and every time they throw it, that other kid's going to catch it. I know they know that's really slim. Because as a matter of fact, when I first looked out there, I saw them not catching the ball and the ball bouncing all over the damn place. Now,
it's the reason why you went outside.
That's the reason I went outside and moved my car. and moved
Right.
and
I moved
moved my car.
Yeah.
Now, explain this to me, brother Jackie. What was going on with those parents? So you tell me, what was going on with those parents?
Well, I look at that like I said about a lot of people. People can't read the room. We call it situational awareness in the military.
Okay.
You have to know what's around you. You don't throw a football. You don't throw a football knowing that level of vehicle is right there. Because if it's damaged, what it's gonna cost you is more than what your monthly note is on your house. I promise you.
It's a mess, and especially if it hits certain parts of that car, because certain parts of it will be harder to repair than other parts. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like you hit a car on the hood, or you hit a car on the roof. Those places, they're not that easily repairable. You know what I mean?
No, they got to be replaced.
Yes, and people don't realize that. They don't realize that. But the kids, I don't blame the kids. Oh, let me tell you this part too. Yeah, let me tell you this part too. I live at the entrance to like a cul-de-sac. I'm not actually in the cul-de-sac, but I'm right toward the entrance. If they had just told their kids to move down 50 yards, there would be no cars around, no nothing around. All they had to do was move down 25 to 50 yards. They could still see the kids. Oh, by the way, they got huge backyards. Let me just throw that in as a side note. Both families have a huge backyard. And if they allowed the kids to play in the backyard, they wouldn't have to been standing out there watching them. Now, common sense. This podcast is on common sense. You don't even have to watch the kids. Tell them to get their butts. Both of them got big backyards. Both of them. They got big backyards. Tell your child to go in the backyard. You don't even have to watch them back there because they big enough. You don't have to watch them. But no, what's going on here? Now, I know we talk about this, we're talking about parenting and I'm getting all caught up in this thing about the kids playing the football, but it's deeper than that. What else are they allowing these kids to do? You hear what I'm saying? Now, I hope my neighbors don't, I hope they don't listen to this podcast, but hey, I'm one of those folks. I'm just going to tell you what it is. You deal with it the way you want to deal with it. Now, my neighbor on the other side, I love them, both of them. They're really young couples, probably in their mid-30s maybe. The folks across the street was probably in their mid-30s, maybe in their early 40s or something. But the neighbors on the left of me, the little boy, I'll tell about 5 years old. Well, the other little 10 or 11-year-old boy, he's into baseball. So he hits the ball over the fence into my yard. I got a pool. And so some of the balls end up in the swimming pool. Some of them, they hit up against my house. They end up in the yard. Now, this little boy, I love the little kids. They're good little kids. They're good. They are good little kids. Don't get me wrong. They're not little baby.
You can't fault them. You have to look at the guardian in that situation.
Yeah, they're not baby's kids, okay? They're not baby kids. They're good little kids, right? They're respectful and everything, except he hitting the ball. Now, my wife, she a little different than me. She kind of take that to heart. But I got to control her. You can't be going out there saying nothing, and I'm not going out there saying nothing. Because right now, the balls are those, they're not the hard baseballs, they're the soft tennis balls like. So I'm not too concerned. We got screens on the window, so he's not going to break the window, And for a while there, I used to collect the balls for him, put them in a bag, and throw them back over the side of the fence. But then I said, nah. I went over and told my neighbor, I said, look, if your son want to hit the balls, he's going to have to come over and get them. So now he comes and gets the balls. But still, just the idea that you allow your kids to do that. You see what I'm saying? What is that teaching the child? But anyway, I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to get hung up on that. But
no, what it teaches is it teaches lack of responsibility.
Or respect.
It absolutely teaches. It teaches a lack of responsibility.
Or respect for other people's stuff.
Right. No, that's not lack of responsibility, respect.
Yes.
Because you have to be, I you know, I can't just go outside and do what I want to do and not look at, okay, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yes.
And be prepared for that.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
So.
Yeah. But that's, to me, that's the permissive parenting style. And I really think that, honestly, I think for the most part, nobody's going to lose their life over him hitting that ball over the wall, or even a kid hitting my car. Nobody going to lose their life, but, there's going to be some consequences that wouldn't be positive. I'm not going to be happy if that football hit my car and put a dent in it. I am not going to be happy. And I'm definitely going to express that to my neighbors. They're going to have to pay for the repair. So that's going to cause some friction between us, And what lesson did the kid learn? What lesson did the kid learn?
The kid did learn a lesson because the parents going up paying for it.
Right.
And they watched it go down. So the kid didn't learn anything.
Right.
Other than the fact that if you got money, you should be able to get out of it. If they know anything about it. If you have money, you basically can get out of any situation.
Exactly.
That's ultimately what it says. Exactly.
So the fourth parenting style that we're going to take a look at is one that's called neglectful. This is the style characterized by low demands and low responsiveness, with parents being uninvolved and neglectful of the kids. Now, being overly involved can also be a problem. Sometimes we get too involved in what's going on with these kids. A lot of times, we get so involved that we end up cleaning their rooms and doing their homework and that type of stuff. But the neglectful parent, that's another parenting style that we need to take a look at. Are you aware of any neglectful parents that you've seen in your past? Now, brother, don't be too specific. If they still here, we don't want to get in no trouble with them. You know what I mean? But
some of them are still around, but I absolutely have watched neglectful parents.
Yes,
are basically uninvolved parents where it's like they just had the kid. They spit out the kid, and there's no direction. There's no rules, regulations. There's no boundaries. Just let the kids do whatever they want to do. I have a close, someone close to me whose parents let them choose if they want to go to if they wanted to go to school every day.
Mm-hmm.
To a point to where I think when they got older, the kids dropped out.
Yes.
Well, in my household, it wasn't. Look, after high school, you can do what you want to, but up until graduation, this is what the rules are.
Right.
You will be in school. Period.
Right.
Hands down, case closed.
Right. And I think a lot of these young parents, because in a lot of cases they weren't parented properly. They didn't learn good parenting skills, so it's only natural that they're going to parent their kids in an unhealthy way. Now, sometimes what happens, I've noticed, Brother Jackie, is that sometimes a young parent may have came from a very strict household. Remember, we talked about the parenting style where it was more of an authoritarian type of style, where the parents were really, really strict. Sometimes I've seen cases where young parents decide, well, I'm not going to raise this happens a lot though, but I'm not going to raise Johnny or Susie the way my mama and daddy raised me. I'm going to raise them different. And so then that's where a lot of times this neglectful or this permissive parenting style come into play. We just let these kids go and let them grow like wild weeds. And that's what they end up being, wild, And then we have situations where we as grandparents, right? We are watching our kids parent, and we can see that, hey, there's going to be some issues here, but we are afraid to say something to our kids about how to help them parent their children. Because many times our kids will put us in place. Look, this is my child. This ain't your child. You know what I'm saying? Instead of receiving the feedback, the guidance, the love that we're providing, in a positive manner, they receive it in a negative manner. So we kind of get into that thing too. Your thoughts, brother?
Let me touch on that one. I follow what you're saying right there, but I had a personal situation. This was probably about 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Whereas a close family member had a child. The child grew up and got married, went back home, and so there was disciplining their child.
Uh-huh.
And the mother or the grandmother, basically at this point, decided to step in.
Uh-huh.
And the husband said, "Hold on. No one can tell you how to handle yours when they were at that age. You don't get to tell them how to handle theirs when they're at that age."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a twofold. If you didn't listen to your parents when you had children, what makes you think your kids are gonna listen to you? When they have theirs. So there's a fine line that you walk right there.
I would agree with that. I will agree that sometimes some of us grandparents might get too involved in what's going on. And I agree with you that comment you made about the fine line. If you are a grandparent or some other relative or friend, if you were to try to help some younger person, usually it's a younger person, parent, we really, really, really need to be careful how we approach that subject. And so I definitely agree with that. That's a really good point that you're making there.
Because what happens is the child of the grandparent at that point, which would be like, let's say in my case, let's say my mother sees me or my parents see me handling my child one way. And what it becomes is a reflection over how they handled me. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And so now you see the fault, the flaw in what you were doing, but now you want to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong, or I could be doing it differently, this, that, and another.
Right.
If you don't have that open communication with that child,
right.
In my case with me,
right.
9 times out of 10, I'm going to push back.
Right.
You don't get to tell me this is the way you raised me, so this is the way I'm going to raise my child.
Right.
Well, a lot of times just to make this argument, a lot of times mom and dad didn't raise me right.
Right. Right.
And so I'm taking those bad habits into raising my child.
Right. Right.
And I think I'm right because I turned out this way. Not knowing I'm flawed, they flawed, the whole damn family's flawed.
Right. You're bringing up some excellent points. And as we're parenting or we're trying to help our children parent, we need to be careful of all of these things that you're pointing out right now. Okay. All right. So out of those 4 parenting styles, I don't expect the audience to necessarily remember all of them, but I will say this: out of the 4, it would appear that the authoritative parenting style probably would be the most positive style. Now, this is the style that's characterized by high expectations. In other words, you have these expectations of your kids, and you're showing warmth. You also set clear rules, but you provide reasoning. You explain to them, why they can or they can't do this, or you want them to do this or not do that. And you want, as much as possible, you want to involve your children in the decision-making process when possible. For example, let me go back to my football players across the street. So here's Johnny and Tony, they want to play catch football. Mom, Dad, we want to play catch football. We want to go out front and play catch football. Well, son, you guys can play catch football, but you can't play catch football outside in the street. There's a few different reasons. The street is for cars traveling, and Pop across the street, he has that really nice car. And right now we're friends with Pop, and we don't want you hitting Pop's car. So here are your choices. You can move further down into the cul-de-sac and throw the football. You can go into either Tony or Jack's backyard and throw the football. Oh, or by the way, we have a park that's within walking distance, and I will walk down to the park with you. And it's a big park, and it's got a lot of grass, and you can throw the football down there. Now, those are your choices. Which one do you guys prefer? Throwing it in the street ain't one of them unless you move further down in the cul-de-sac. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about allowing, giving clear guidance to the children, but allowing them to make decisions in the process. Right?
Correct.
All right.
Correct. And I agree with that because I think that gives them a voice.
Yes.
Too many times we quick to jump on their authoritative.
Yes.
Do what I say, not as I do. And some things are definitely do what I say, not as I do.
Right.
But when it comes to, I think when the children are starting to get a little size on them a little bit,
right.
They start,
smelling themselves. No.
Feel themselves.
Yeah.
When there's some reasoning involved, you can begin to, get a feel for how they think and which way to handle them when it comes to discipline or making decisions, that sort of thing.
Right.
It's not always just go do this and there's no reason, there's no understanding.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's talk about some key responsibilities and practice of good parenting. One of the primary things we need to look at is safety and health of our kids. That's a core responsibility of our children is keeping them safe and healthy. I find it interesting that there's this big discussion going on today on whether or not kids should be vaccinated. Right? What are your thoughts on that? Before we get too deep into that, what are your thoughts on that, Jackie, as far as whether or not kids should be vaccinated?
I've gone there when I was younger. I was all for vaccinations. I understood it. I went through it. Then when I had my daughter when I was older, I didn't necessarily agree with it as much now.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I know I hadn't done enough research on it to understand the reasoning behind it, because there's some negative side effects that they believe are caused by vaccinations. But when my daughter was a child, was a baby, she was going through that process. I can say I didn't like it, but I didn't know enough to push back against it. That's the best way to put it.
Okay.
So, in light of that, yes, let's get her vaccinated.
Right. Well, let me just go over some factual considerations as far as whether or not to get your child vaccinated or not. Medically and scientifically, it has been proven they should be vaccinated. All right, just take that right off the top. Medically and scientifically, it has been proven they should be vaccinated. Vaccines can prevent common diseases that used to seriously harm or kill infants, children, and adults. And it's always better to prevent a disease than to try to treat it after it occurs. Without vaccines, your child is at risk of becoming seriously ill or even dying from childhood diseases such as polio. And just for those folks in the back of the room there, polio has been eliminated in the U.S. It was since 1979. And why was the polio eliminated? It was eliminated due to vaccines. I remember when I was growing up, it was very common to see a child with polio. It wasn't that uncommon at all. Today, okay. I personally, I can't remember the last time I saw a child who appeared to have polio. But like I said, when I was growing up, it was very common to see a child with polio. Measles, whooping cough, Those were really under control. But within the last few years or so, especially this last year, there's an increase in the U.S. Of polio not polio, but whooping cough and measles, and it's mainly being shown that is due to the decline in vaccinations.
Vaccines.
Yeah, and that's what's causing this. See, here's my thing, Brother Jackie, and that's what these podcasts are about on Common Sense. I mean, we all kind of have our own opinions about what to do and how to do it. We all have our opinions on a lot of stuff, but in order to come to a reasonable decision on things, I think that we should do as much research as possible from credible sources before we decide whether we're going to go left or right. Now, once we do that research, we should be smart enough to go where that research takes us. There's millions and billions of dollars that are being spent on people getting trained on research and all of the rest of this stuff to come to the conclusions that we come to scientifically and medically, usually. If you went to your doctor and the doctor said, you have high blood pressure or you're having a tendency for diabetes or something like this, and the doctor tells you, now this is what you need to do if you want to prevent these things or if you want to get these things under control. Now, how smart would it be to go to that doctor and have that doctor who's got all this training, right, all this knowledge, and just blow off what he's telling, or he or she is telling you? How much sense does that make? Now, like I said, this podcast is on Common Sense. Now, we do know that there's a lot of people who do that. They go to the doctor, like smoking, for example. They go to the doctor because they got issues. They walk around with these oxygen tanks, and guess what they still doing?
Smoking.
So I do understand that there's some folks out there, logic, reasoning, common sense is just not going to apply to them. But now what we're talking about your children's welfare. I hear people all the time talk about how much they love their children and this and that and this and that. But when it comes to their health and welfare, they're going to get caught up in this argument, this debate on whether or not their child should be getting vaccinated when there are facts, when there's proof out there that they should. That's all, that's all I'm saying. But that's one of those areas, their health and welfare, one of those main areas that we need to be concerned with when we're trying to parent. Some other key responsibilities: emotional well-being. We want to make sure of that with our kids. We want to nurture our kids' emotional health and their self-esteem. Social skills, teaching children social skills. In other words, cooperation, self-control, that type of thing. Consistency. We need to be consistent, when we're, providing, guidance, when we're parenting, in our kids' development. We need to make sure that we're consistent in what we're doing. Communication, open and frequent communication helps foster a strong parent-child relationship. We need to communicate. What are your thoughts, brother, on some of these things as far as key responsibilities and practices of good parenting? Can you add to some of these things we're talking about? Like social skills, teaching them social skills, being consistent, communicating with them.
Correct. Going through the struggle, understanding life is not going to be easy. Nothing is handed to you.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that.
Right. right. And we need to listen too. We need to listen to our kids, listen to their thoughts and feelings. You know, don't just blow them off because, you know, they're kids. And I'm talking about from the age of when they can talk. You know what I mean? Listen to your kids from the age from when they can talk. Listen to your kids. And when they get older, you know, we need to listen to our kids. And a lot of times we don't freely allow our kids to express themselves. I know with my daughter, sometimes even to this day, she's grown now, but even to this day, even though she grown and I'm her daddy, you know, she knows she can talk to me about anything. As long as she's respectful, that's the key right there, is being respectful. But I'm not going to speak for her, but I'm going to speak for her. I think she knows that we can talk about anything. And as long as I can remember, me and my daughters had that kind of a relationship. And so I think that's important. Sometimes I've seen some cases where kids are afraid to talk to their parents. And check this out. There are times where parents are afraid to talk to their kids. They're literally fearful of how their kids are going to respond to them talking to them about something. Okay, that's where we're at today with parenting. The kids are afraid to talk to their parents, and their parents are afraid to talk to the kids. That's where we're at today. Rope, you had something to say, brother?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to talk a minute about role modeling. That's something else that we should really look at. But I'll tell you though, it really is amazing to me how many parents, either they're just not aware, maybe they don't care, but it just amazes me how many parents don't realize how their behavior it might be influencing their kids. I don't know. Again, these are the people who say, I love my child. I'd do anything for my child. Nobody better not harm my child. And here they are living a certain lifestyle, acting a certain way, and their behavior is harming that child. And it's not harming that child at that instance. It's harming that child for a lifetime. You know, we got parents who smoke, right? We got parents who smoke and not realize how that smoking could be hurting their child now, you know, from a health standpoint. Not realizing that our behavior is influencing that child where they may end up smoking, you know, different things like that. Or drinking to excess especially. So we just need to be aware of our behavior around our children. Thoughts on that, brother?
You there?
Yeah. Okay. And so we need to be a positive role model for our kids. You know, I know you've heard that saying, your actions often speak louder than words. It's so true.
Too many of us come up with the do as I say, not as I do mantra in that house.
Right.
And I don't think that works for any demographic of children.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be the example that you want to be.
Right.
Or be the change that you want to see reflected in your daily life.
Right. I mean, don't expect your kids to follow examples that you as a parent don't set. Right? I mean, it's good to talk about how you should lead your life and what you should be doing. But you as a parent is not doing that. You're not setting an example. That's very, very important for us as parents to remember that. You know,
I asked a parent this a couple of years ago, and I asked the mother, I said, you would have wanted your sons, to have sons and daughters, I said, you would have wanted your sons to go out 18, 19 years old, get married, have 2.3 kids with a white picket fence around the house. And the mother, and she was like, yes. I said, where was that ever on display for them to copy?
Right.
So you're asking them to go do something that you never put on display for them to copy.
Right.
So how are they How are they to get it? How are they to know what it looks like how are they to know that?
Right.
So if you didn't show it to them, don't ask them for it.
Right. 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 Absolutely. Some examples of poor parenting is, and these are just some parenting tips, but some examples of poor parenting or role modeling, and we kind of mentioned smoking, excessive drinking, drug use, lying, not having a good work ethic, poor body and health image, racism, sexism. Your children see all of these things, right? They see all of these things. Just the thing with racism, for example, kids aren't born racist. You know, they're not born racist.
Not at all.
Yeah, they're not born sexist. They're not born that way, right? They're not born lazy. Okay, they're not born these ways. So we need to make sure that we try to set good examples for our kids. We need to set boundaries. We need to enforce these boundaries. Need to be consistent. If they violate those boundaries, we need to make sure we provide appropriate consequences. Because in order for boundaries to be effective, they must be enforced and consistent. And when we are setting these boundaries, if they violate these boundaries, just remember we should not label a child by name calling. Label the behavior, but don't label the child by calling them names. You're dumb, you're stupid, so on and so on and so on. Those are common names that we associate with our kids sometimes when they're not doing what we think they should be doing. Here's one that I kind of struggled a little bit with, and we're still talking about some effective parenting tips, right? This is one I struggled a little bit with. And it says, showing unconditional love. It says, let your children know your love is not dependent on their actions. I've always had a problem when people say unconditional love. Because my thoughts on that is, I think, now y'all got to correct me because I'm not a Bible expert or anything like that or on Christianity or religion. But I thought I heard that in order to get into heaven, there were some things you had to do for God. God wasn't going to let you into heaven without some conditions. And I think one of the main ones was you need to accept him, right? So even God got conditions. So me as a human, with all of the faults that I have, how am I going to show unconditional love? But go ahead. You were going to say something, Brother Jack, and I cut you off.
I literally had this conversation last night. I was asked, do I believe in the concept of unconditional love? I said I don't believe that exists.
I mean,
I don't believe. Huh?
Go ahead.
I don't believe unconditional love exists because there's always a condition on love. There's always a condition.
Yeah.
On love.
Yeah.
There are some things that you can and my question was, could your children do something that would stop you from loving it? I believe you can.
Yeah.
You may care about it, but there's a condition on this. And someone said, I was told that those are boundaries. Nah, call it what you want. But there's some things that you just can't. You're not gonna be able to get past.
Yeah, and see, like I told you, I'm struggling with this one because I think about my daughter, and I love my daughter, and I think about that, and I'm thinking about it right now at this exact moment, and I'm trying to think of something that she could do or not do that might cause me to stop loving her, and I have to be honest, I can't think of it. I can't think of it, but in general, in general, for anybody else, I'm struggling with my daughter, but for anybody else, there's some conditions. My wife, there's some conditions for my love. Just like I know for her love for me, there are conditions. You hear what I'm saying?
This is my thing with that. And I look at parents like you. You can't fathom that thought because I know your child.
Right.
turned out to be a great person.
Right. Right.
So you can't fathom that.
Right.
But also, you're not having to get up, go down to the jail. You're not having to go down there and fight and sit in that courtroom. They fight a murder case, or they're fighting drug cases, or if it's a son, they'll touch one of your other children. You're not having to. You didn't have none of that has ever been on your plate to have to deal with from your children.
Right. Right.
But there are other parents that is their reality.
Yeah.
So because you did what you were supposed to do, and you, in a sense, led with an iron fist or understanding hand, or done what you could to alleviate, to minimize that risk. There are other parents out there that have not, and so now your children become a direct reflection of the toxic environment that they were raised in. So now they bring that toxic. Matter of fact, they never left them to bring it back. They maintain that toxicity within that house, and so now that is a different set of circumstances. Yours is different because you can't even fathom your child doing any of what I just named.
Right. Right. And you're pointing out a good point that I didn't think about, but I think that's a very good point. But anyway, the thing about showing unconditional love, and I think the intent of that is, we should accept the fact that our kids, we're talking about parenting right now. We should accept the fact that they're not always going to behave in the way that we think they should behave. We need to allow them to make mistakes, and we need, as best we can, we need to continue to love them. And I think that's the intent of the statement. But I just have such a problem with that unconditional thing, because I have a feeling. I mean, think about this. Think about the child who physically abused their parent. And there's some kids out there that do that. They actually physically. Can you picture loving somebody who physically abused you constantly? Could you imagine showing them love? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But anyway.
You talking about the child that abused their parent?
Yes, physically. Yes, they're out there.
We have a prime example of that in 1984. His name was Marvin Gaye.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so everyone's saying, well, look at parents today would sit here and say, well, his dad was wrong.
Right.
No, damn it. I came up in a time frame that my father looked at me. He said, "Hey, I am not going to let you interfere with what's going on in this house. If you want to go out and be a degenerate, that's fine. You don't get to do it in this house.
Uh-huh.
And before I let you do that, I will take you out myself."
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So his love came with responsibility, and that's one of the conversations you and I have had.
Right.
A lot of men, my love comes with responsibility. That's
right.
Responsibility is.
Right.
And it's not just, and it's more than just love. It takes more than love to raise a child. It takes discipline. It takes boundaries. It takes sometimes you going to bed as a parent feeling like a piece of crap because you have to discipline your child that you love unconditionally, that you supposedly love, in a sense, almost unconditionally,
right,
if you will.
Right.
Even though I don't believe that exists.
Right.
But,
right.
You
I got you.
You got to get out. You got to go for a walk sometimes.
I got you. Still talking about parenting tips. You need to make time for your kids. I mean, we talking about quality time, right? And make sure it's something the kid will enjoy, not just you. That's a mistake that we make sometimes. And that's not just with kids, but with other people in our lives. We make time for them, but we make time for them doing stuff that we want to do. They may not necessarily want to do it. So make sure that you make time for the kids and make sure the time is something they'll do. Boost their self-esteem. Encourage them and praise them. Again, don't physically and emotionally and verbally abuse them. Be flexible. Adjust our approach as needed. No singles, and keep this in mind too. No single style is going to work for every situation or every child. You could have two children in the same household, 2 boys, 2 girls, don't matter, and they can be almost the opposite. You can't always use the same parenting approach with each of those kids. And then too, when they become adults, that's another thing you got to think about. Is when they become adults. Some children may need more attention than other children. This is where communication comes into play too. You know, that child that might need more attention than the other child. Yeah, you need to pay that child that needs the attention, but you need to let that other child know, hey, this is what's going on. You don't want to, talk negatively about the other child, but you want to let that child know that doesn't really need that much attention. You need to let them know too that you're not paying them attention because the other child might require more attention. You follow what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I heard this the other day, and it started off the same way you just talked about. You have two children that was raised in the same house with the same parents, and you would think that they would turn out the same.
Yeah.
No. The problem with that is even though there's two children in the same house, they don't get the same version of the parents. That's
another good point. That's another good point.
I'm the oldest of seven children. There's a distinct difference between the way my parents, the way they raised me as the oldest, and my baby and my youngest sibling, my sister.
Right.
There's a distinct difference because they were not the same people when they were raising her as when they were raising me.
And you're not the same. The kids aren't the same.
No, not 100%. The kids are not the same.
Right. Exactly.
But the parents aren't the same either.
Exactly.
I distinctly remember going home on leave. I'm sitting outside. I'm outside getting ready to get in the car and leave, driving back to New Mexico because, I was stationed. And my baby sister, got upset, walked in the house, and slammed the front door. My father didn't even flinch, didn't move a muscle. Like, when I say didn't move, he didn't even acknowledge that the door was just slammed. Now, me on the other hand, I was 26, 27 years old, and I was still scared to do what she just did at 6.
It'd be a problem. There'd be a problem.
The door wouldn't have been out of my hand before you'd have been up and on me.
All facts. All facts. Yeah, all facts. Another parenting tip, and this could go either way, little or no discipline, right? We talk about too much discipline, but sometimes, we find that parents, they provide little or no discipline at all. Now, when we start talking about discipline, we're not going to get too deep into that, but right, there's there's different forms of discipline, right? So that's something that you really want to work on is what's appropriate. When it comes to discipline.
I look at discipline, little and no discipline, like when I was in the mortgage business. No credit is just as bad as having bad credit.
Yeah.
So they both have negative side effects. They both are negative.
Right.
No discipline and too much discipline. No discipline. Kids gonna run wild and do what they want to do. They don't understand that there's boundaries. Life is gonna show them boundaries, and they run the risk of crashing out.
Right.
The overly disciplined children, when they get away from you, they're gonna run and get buck wild. Right. There's a chance they're gonna run and get buck wild because they've not been allowed to do anything. Right. That's just as bad.
Right. Another parenting tip, be careful about, withdrawing your affection to your kids because you're mad at them, right? You're mad at them, and so you withdraw affection or shaming them. That's another thing sometimes we parents do. We try to, shame our children. An example is, you got this young son. He's 8 years old. He out there playing, and he ends up getting his butt whooped, right, by a girl. He gets his butt whooped by a 6-year-old girl. He 8, and he done got his butt whooped by a 6-year-old girl, and he come home crying, and then here you are shaming him because he got beat up by a 6-year-old girl. No, we shouldn't do that. What we should do is teach him how to fight, so the next time he can beat up that 8-year-old girl, or 6-year-old girl. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I hope y'all realize I'm joking. But you, yeah, but you get what I'm trying to say, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that reminds me. Go ahead, brother.
I said send him to school.
Yeah.
With a t-shirt that says, "I believe in not hitting the girl until I tell her to not hit me again."
I have to share a personal story with you. When I was in the military and we were, I think we were in Ohio, but I was a young troop. We had gotten reassigned to this base, and my daughter Nikki, she was probably, I don't know, 8 years old, 7, 8, 9 years old, and so when we got to the base, my sponsor, because I didn't have housing yet, he allowed me, my wife, and my daughter to stay with him and his wife, and I think he had 1 or 2 kids. But he gave us a room upstairs in his house, right? And we lived on base. So a neighbor of mine, I was playing basketball. I played basketball, base team basketball with this guy. He lived across the street from us, right? And he had a little son. My daughter and him was about the same age. I think he might have been a year younger, maybe. So my neighbor out there, he's washing his car, and my daughter's out there. She's, kind of playing with this kid, right? And so this little boy, he's been a little aggressive toward my daughter. And I'm watching this out the window, right? Now, keep in mind, my neighbor, he's watching this too. He's washing his car. And the little boy, he's not just flat out beating her up, but he's pushing her and, he's being physical with her a little bit. And she's kind of turning and not fighting him back, and because she was a little bit bigger than him, right? So I'm looking out the window, and I was like, what the hell? So I called her. I said, Nikki, get your butt over here. So she come in the house, and she's all panicking, like, what's going on? I said, what you letting that boy hit on you like that for? She said, well, Dad, she started to cry. She said, well, Dad, you told me don't be fighting. And these are life lessons for me too, right? I'm a young parent. So it's like, I didn't mean for you to let nobody beat you up, So I said, you take your butt back out there. And I said, if that boy start anything with you, I said, you better light his butt up. So sure enough, now keep in mind, my neighbor, he's still across the street washing his nice car and stuff. She take her butt back outside across the street. That little boy couldn't wait until she got across the street. He lit into her, she turned on him, and that was the end of that. Now, all of a sudden, my daughter's whooping his son's butt. Now my neighbor, all of a sudden, he's interested. You guys, y'all stop that. I'm watching this whole thing, right? So, but yeah, be careful. Be careful. That's just another little tip, but be careful with shaming and that type of thing. Also, be careful with the messages you pass on to your kids. Make sure that you explain what you're telling them and why. Because the message I passed on to my daughter was, don't be fighting. The message she heard was, don't fight no matter what. And that really wasn't the message I was trying to pass on to her. I want her to defend herself, but as much as possible, try not to fight. But go ahead, brother.
No,
yeah,
I agree. But that goes back to the times line effective communication.
Right.
And that communication has to be effective on the level that the child can understand.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Okay, brother, what we're going to do now, we're going to finish this thing up here. A few takeaways as far as parenting. Parenting is emotionally challenging, right? For those of us who've parented, we know that. It's a huge responsibility, requires a lot of patience, consistency, love, compassion, and understanding. It's very common for us, too, to also worry about our different types of parenting choices. I would guess that there's probably not too many parents, once they've parented and their children become adults, there's probably not too many of us that don't second guess ourselves, I guess is what I'm getting ready to say, is second guess ourselves and don't think about, well, maybe we should have done it a different way. I will say, parents, please don't beat yourself up on that one, because keep this in mind. Your children, however you parented them, I think there comes a time where we got to take responsibility for who we are as adults. Because I'll tell you, my mama, I should have all type of emotional and psychological issues. I'm gonna be honest with you, cause my mama, she did not play. You know, she was abusive to me at times. My mama's still alive, by the way. She's 100 years old, and I still love the girl. But when I was growing up, my mama did not play. You talking about child abuse? My mama did not play. I should have some issues, and maybe I do. I don't know, but I think
I was just about to say, you don't get to determine whether you got issues. The people around you care.
That's true. That's true. That's true. So far, ain't nobody been telling me, "Boy, you crazy." So I'm good on that one, I guess. But still talking about some takeaways here. Again, you know, this is a learning experience for us. Most of the times we're learning as we go, but I would strongly encourage you, listen to folks, at least consider what folks are telling you who've been where you've been and done what you've done. You know, if they're sharing some things with you, some tips, if it seemed like it makes sense, you might want to consider those things. Now, if they're telling you some stuff that's kind of crazy, recognize it for what it is, right? But if you really feel that you're stressed as far as, you know, trying to raise these kids, remember, you know, there's all types of guidance out there, either through your family, your friends, and if nothing else, you seek professional help. You know, but make sure there are people that you can trust and respect. I've heard it said that probably parenting is, if not the hardest job, it's definitely one of the hardest jobs you could ever have in life. But with the right knowledge and tools, and knowledge, it'll be one of the most rewarding experiences in your life. Any last minute thoughts on that, Brother Jackie?
Always remember, I think as parents, going back to effective communication piece, but I adopted this phrase when it comes to my daughter. I can't necessarily say I had it with my son, but I refuse to give my child a childhood that she has to recover from.
Wow.
So a lot of the issues that we have that came from our childhood, we pass that on to our children.
Yes.
But yet we expect them to not have issues.
Right.
Good
point.
If you hadn't sat down and figured out your imperfection, like mom and dad are great at being mom and dad. No one is knocking them. A lot of times our parents did the best they could with what they had. And
there
I've
you go.
had to have this conversation with my parents.
There you go.
The best they could with what they had.
There you go.
However, but I told my mom, that doesn't mean that what you did not have any negative side effects.
Right.
Two things are true at the same time.
Right.
So let's open and transparent with ourselves that, okay, I'm not the best parent, and that's okay.
Right.
I'm striving to be better today than I was yesterday.
Right.
And if you want grace as a parent, give that same grace to your child.
Right.
Don't criticize them in the morning before going to school and expect them to have a good day.
Oh, good point. Very good point.
That's all. I got more to it, but I'll land right there.
Good. Yeah, good. All good. And for the listeners out there, appreciate you listening. And we're always looking for feedback and comments from you. Again, we've got an email website here. It's a DNA Hardwired Podcast @gmail.com. That's DNA Hardwired Podcast @gmail.com. Or we got a Facebook page too. It's a DNA Hardwired, a podcast on common sense. Just look us up, drop us a few lines. We look forward to hearing from you. All right, listeners, we're going to go ahead and me and Brother Jackie here, we're going to drop the mic on this episode. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Not see you, we'll talk to you next time. All right, signing off.
Think it through, people.